Hi, I'm Mary Beth Stapleton, Manager of Family and Community Partnerships for Hartford County Public Schools. Welcome to the Parent Academy Virtual Real Talk on how to support our tweens, our early teenagers, our middle schoolers through the COVID-19 closure. With me today is Miss Laurie Namey, Principal of Magnolia Middle School. Hey, Laurie.
Hey, Mary Beth, great to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
It's so good to have you because I know that you have a lot of experience with middle schoolers over the years. So could you just share for parents your background in working with this age group?
Absolutely. So 20 years ago, it's my 20-year anniversary here in Hartford County. 20 years ago, I moved from the great area of Northeast Pennsylvania, and I really never looked back. Left my family, left my friends for an opportunity to teach at Edgewood Middle School. So that is where I started teaching 8th grade language arts. My first group of students are in their mid-30s now.
Aww.
Went to baby showers, weddings, graduations. So it's been an awesome journey that started at Edgewood Middle School. I spent 14 years there. After teaching, I became the behavior specialist. And then after that, I had the opportunity to be assistant principal. And I served as assistant principal for the last 6 years of my time at Edgewood Middle. And then I had an amazing opportunity to come up to central office to serve the school system as supervisor of equity and cultural proficiency. I did that for 6 years. That's where I got to meet you.
Yay, we met there.
Yes, had a little break in the action there to actually return to Edgewood Middle School to serve as principal for a little while. But then I returned. And then last spring, as you know, I had Dr. Bolson and we discussed the opportunity that came about to serve as principal of Magnolia Middle School. So now I serve as proud principal of Magnolia Middle School, and in this role is how I serve right now.
Go purple, right?
Yes, yes.
Every time I see you, you have that purple on. So
absolutely, not today, not today.
Not today, every other day.
Mm-hmm.
So as a middle school principal right now, how are you running the day-to-day for your staff? How does that work for a middle school principal now that, we have the closure?
It's definitely different. I got to tell you, I know I'm going to speak for myself, but I know my entire staff. We miss our children tremendously, but knowing that we are still there to serve them, I hope so. I hope so. We are still serving them in just a different capacity. So right now, I feel like my biggest role is the supporter of the learning process. I meet with members of my staff multiple times a week, some others daily. We are supporting one another, making plans for instruction, collaborating on what's best for our students and their families. We're also meeting as different support teams to assure that we're supporting our students and their families beyond academics. So there's social, emotional, and personal needs as well. Best part of my days, of course, are spent talking to parents and students. So when I get that opportunity, I definitely take it. And I also am involved with system-wide initiatives. So things like the equity team, the professional development team. There's a lot of planning going on behind the scenes to assure that we're providing seamless, as much as we can, instruction and care for our students and our families. Believe it or not, Mary Beth, I'm also spending a lot of time planning for next year, thinking about the master schedule, thinking about hiring, thinking about 6th grade transition and our 8th grade students transitioning to high school. So there's a lot of different things that are going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and we forget that it's May, so that really has to happen now, no matter what.
Absolutely. Every spring, we tend to do that. We tend to start planning for next year.
Yeah. So as we're dealing with the closure as parents, there's some unique challenges for parents of middle schoolers. They're not small, and so we can't manage their day-to-day like we could when they were little. And they're not high school students, and high school students are very independent usually. And if not, we can go in, support, and then let them go again. And as a mom of 4, it's tough. Those middle school years are tough to know when do you kind of guide and when do you let go, and especially now that we're in closure.
Right.
What are your suggestions for parents around those challenges?
Well, I have to say, I appreciate the fact that you did share that middle school is unique, because it is.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic time for every child. A lot of changes happening cognitively, socially, emotionally. A lot of people might say that it's the most difficult time for adolescent. To me, I think it's the most amazing, but maybe I'm biased.
That's why you do what you do. So thank you.
Exactly. But honestly, Mary Beth, this is where our students are developing skills, relationships, and character to impact who they truly are becoming.
Yeah.
Change is rapid and it's intense. I
Mhm.
actually joke all the time that middle school is the shortest for a reason, because it's such a quick and bumpy ride. So Eric Erickson, a researcher and psychologist, calls this stage identity versus role confusion. And I think that there's no other way to describe the time better than that.
Mm.
It's critical that we're there for our students to help them guide in their decision making, but also letting them have a little room and space to experience failure and to make mistakes, even though I'm sure as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I'm sure as a parent, it's hard to allow your child to fail or to make a mistake. But it's really defining, this time is really defining who they are. And we want to make sure that we allow them the space to do that.
So during the closure, thinking about letting kids fail and kind of, yeah. So knowing that there could be too much and too little, what are your suggestions on the day-to-day? How do we manage that day-to-day schedule for our kids?
Well, I think even before talking about the schedule, I think that there's some things that I know that we know for certain about middle schoolers and what they need in school right now. So even if school is here at home or school is on Fort Hoyle Road where we were, there's a couple things that are for certain that middle schoolers need. And the first thing that I think is the most critical is that they need a lot of love and affirmation. They might fight against it because that's what middle schoolers do.
Yes, they do.
But it's really important for their health and well-being to be shown affection. And especially right now, I think all humans need probably more affection and love right now. It's such a difficult time. So I say all that to say that hugs, lots of them, parents, as much as you can to your child. There's also things that I think schools are responsible for providing to kids. And I think parents could kind of get this torch passed to them along the way. And we're doing our best from a distance to be able to provide this as well. And that is, kids need to feel success. They need to feel that they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
They need to feel that they're being accepted or that they belong. So anything that will allow students to feel like they belong to the bigger picture in their home is always a great idea. One of the examples I could give you, I actually got from one of our parents talking to them. She is a mom of 5 kids, and her oldest is one of my 8th graders. And she was just telling me that she's given him a lot of responsibility and a lot of purpose right now. He actually makes the dinner menus and makes the list for the grocery store, and then actually helps in the food preparation. So yes, kids need to feel accepted that they belong to the bigger picture, but they also need to feel that they have purpose and they have power. So choice is really, really important here. And then most importantly, I think at the end of all this is a sense of hope. And I think everybody needs that right now, but 8th graders, 7th graders, 6th graders, that middle school dynamic, we always want to share with them what's next and hope and optimism for the future. I mean, I know for myself, I need that right now. One of the things I keep thinking about, my sister's pregnant. And so, yes, she is due in the middle of June. And that is part of my almost daily ritual. If I'm feeling a little down or feeling a little worried about what's next, I always keep thinking, I'm going to have a new niece in June. So yes, any kind of sense of hope that you could provide. Really overall, I feel that we're secondary as schools to provide that. Parents truly are the ultimate providers of these things. And I really do feel like if we're continuing to do that, even beyond the academics, I think you're doing a great job, parents.
Oh, well, that's good to know. And that's such a great suggestion. 2 things, takeaways from that. One is to give our middle schoolers responsibilities around the house. We don't have to do everything. They can make dinner, they can, with supervision, and that helps them buy in. And then the second is to have them focus on something to look forward to. And I think that's a struggle right now because we just don't know what tomorrow brings.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But I think trying to focus on something, that's a great idea because that, and as adults, we need to do the same thing. To
Absolutely.
Your point.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I know you asked about the schedule, and I do want to mention, I think it's really important. Consistency, structure is critical. But going back to that choice, we also want students to have a little bit of autonomy here.
Okay.
So whether it's them creating their schedule for themselves, goal setting each day to say, what have I accomplished? And then that way you could kind of affirm them and reinforce the behaviors that they're displaying, the academic behaviors, but also the chores and other responsibilities that you ask them to do.
Okay.
I think having things that they're interested in, personal interest, time for that, time for exercise. I'm lecturing myself here as I say that, but those are the kind of things that are really, really critical right now. And that's probably some of the things that they're missing from school. Is the structure, the routine, the physical education classes, the other interest-based classes, and then of course that opportunity for feedback and reinforcement, which I think are really, really critical right now.
And they're not just missing it from school, right? I mean, they're missing it from their after school, from their weekends. I mean, their lives were just so busy in so many ways. And now we have to make sure we kind of keep them going.
Yes.
That's a great point. And I think as a parent, the thing that so many middle school parents are struggling with right now is that sometimes our middle schoolers will be in that phone for a long time or on that video game for a long time, or they'll want to sleep. And so managing that and making sure that we're getting them up and going and getting them focused on the next thing is probably something we should be doing rather than just, let them do the video game for hours. And
right. Yeah. Sorry, something popped up on my computer. One moment. Oh.
So thinking about the day-to-day, how do we incorporate, those friendships you mentioned, those relationships are so important.
Yes.
The importance of that as a middle schooler parent and making sure they stay connected. Thoughts around that?
Yeah, it's hard. I think everyone as humans, it's part of our hierarchy of needs that we need connection, we need relationships, we need that sense of security that we get from other human beings. So I encourage families right now to help students maintain their friendships, whether it's via telephone but I mean like the real telephone conversations.
Our kids know what the real telephone is.
I don't know, but helping them, have those conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, social media, allow them to keep connected to social media, and even have them write some letters to their friends, old-fashioned letter writing pen pals. Help them. That will bring some excitement, waiting for a letter to come back. I also think I encourage families to use this time to strengthen your relationships with your child. And another idea that I have around this is to think about different topics, put them in a hat, and then, have it part of like maybe your evening daily ritual to have different topics that you and your child could discuss. And, any kind of relationship right now is going to be critical. So whatever it is, with whoever it is, I think it's important.
That sounds wonderful. What a great idea. Do that around the dinner table, right? And try to have some good conversation.
Or wherever it's convenient for our families. Front porch, out for a walk. Wherever it is.
Yeah. So thinking about rituals and how do we make sure the day is sacred? What about our 8th graders, right? Now that they're missing so many of those milestones that really are a part of 8th grade. And I don't think everybody really understands in Harford County, many of our 8th graders are going to go to other schools. They're not going to the same high school, right? So there really is a need for closure. I mean, we don't know what happens after the May 15th if we're closed or not, but even right now, they're missing the day-to-day with their friends.
Absolutely. And I'm missing our 8th graders. This was my first group of students at Magnolia. So I'm really sad that I'm not, if we don't come back to school this year, I'm not going to be able to say goodbye formally. I'm sure that they will see me lurking about their high school next year to say hello.
Here comes Miss Namey.
Right. But Really, you're correct. 55, I'm very proud of this. 55 of our eighth graders have been accepted to magnet programs and are enrolling in magnet programs.
Wonderful,
So we're
congratulations.
very proud of them at Magnolia Middle. But for all of our eighth graders, for all 300 of them, it is really, really important that we celebrate in some way, somehow. So parents, just so you know, we are brainstorming ways as principals across this county to celebrate our eighth graders, but that should not stop you from celebrating them. And I believe that really every day is a celebration. So one way that I'm thinking is just the little things that students want to celebrate on their own, things that they accomplished this year, things that they're looking forward to high school. But really, I just think whatever we could do to make it special, it doesn't need to be grandiose, but anything that you could do to honor the sadness, because it's there, honor the grieving of the loss of eighth grade possibility. Thinking about like the eighth grade social, the different ceremonies that schools have, it's going to be difficult. So anything that you could do to recreate that would be great.
Oh, for sure. So thinking about your planning for the eighth grade and all the things that you're doing behind the scenes, I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about how do we, as parents, hear about your plans for eighth grade or talk to our teachers about the day-to-day and get the help that we need. What are your suggestions on reaching out when we need it? I think there might be the mindset that, oh, I don't want to bother anybody, or I have a question, but I don't really know where to go for the answer. What are your thoughts around that for you and your staff?
Well, one thing for sure that has not changed is our commitment to our students and our families. Mm-hmm. So yes, reach out as much as you need to, and there's no such thing as too much reaching out. We are here to serve you, and I know I'm speaking for my other principal colleagues across the middle schools. We're grateful for our families. We're grateful for the connections that we still have for our students. We at this point in time, we know that relationships are critical, and we're leaning on our relationships. That's the exact thing that has kept us afloat in education for so long. It's what I think sets us apart at Magnolia Middle School. We really thrive on those relationships. Mary Beth, I have to tell you the power of relationships. I was talking to a parent last week about something unrelated to what I'm going to share next, but about school and her daughter and our school. And we were just started to talk a little bit about the crisis that we are in as a country. And for whatever reason, I mentioned that I could not find Lysol. We were talking about what we couldn't find, and I couldn't find Lysol. Well, a few days later, I get a return text from her that said, "Hey, Miss Namey, I want to let you know I found you Lysol."
Oh, my gosh.
And so I was just so moved by that. I went to pick it up yesterday at her home, my student's home, and got a chance to leave something special for my eighth grader. But it's the power of relationships. We need them just as much as parents need them and students need them. So, I'm grateful for this parent. I'm grateful for all of our parents that keep communicating with us. I'm very, very proud of our staff. We have done incredible things reaching out to our families, and truly, they on this Teacher Appreciation Week, as we venture on to the start of this week.
Yes.
I got to tell you, I'm just so impressed with the dedication my staff and so many other teachers around this county have made to making connections and keeping those connections to our kids.
Yeah, and I have to say I've been honored to have the COVID hotline helping out with some questions from parents. And every single time I've reached out to your colleagues or to you about a parent that needs help, all of you are all hands on deck. So Thank you it doesn't matter the time of day either.
Absolutely not.
Late in the morning, late in the evening, you guys are at it. So that's wonderful.
Yes.
But thinking about our families and those that are reaching out, some of them are saying at times that they don't have access to that technology. And Absolutely. I know that our leadership has worked hard to get some long-term plans in place. But for right now, our families that don't have technology at home, as a leader, what do you suggest for those families to get the support that they need?
Yeah, Mary Beth, this one pulls on me the most as a principal. I'm constantly thinking of our families in this situation. And what I want to say is that it's not just our families without technology, but a very normal situation is that there is one device in the home and there's 3 or 4 people, children and adults, trying to create a schedule to utilize it. That's normal. What we're going through right now is not normal. So I don't want any family out there listening. If you don't have technology or only have one device, you are not alone.
Well,
you are
and
not
I love
alone.
To hear, yeah, and I love
And
to hear
we are constantly.
There's a lot of families that don't even have like Wi-Fi.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's very, very true. But I need you to know that we are constantly thinking of ways we could strengthen our craft to continue to keep families engaged.
Okay.
I want to say I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you we have to prioritize the learning needs of all of our students without exception, and really to think creatively about how to support kids. But I go back to that relationships thing. It's the thing that I know for certain in education. So we're leaning on those relationships right now. We are making outreach in a variety of ways, and it's everyone. It's taking their entire village. I have so many stories to share with you if we had all day about teachers reaching out at 8 o'clock at night because that's when a mom gets off of work, or one of my teams really speaking to and actually teaching the aunt of one of my students, and then the aunt goes over to the student's home to reach and teach her nephew.
Wow.
Our custodians at our school, one of my custodians, every time she's cleaning the office or walks by the office, if she hears the phone ring, she picks up the phone, she answers it, and then she's calling me to let me know if it was a parent or somebody I need to get in touch with. So we are overwhelmed by the ends of the earth, really, that our teachers and our support staff are going to reach and teach our kids. But know that it's a priority for us, and we are not leaving any children out.
Right.
We are doing what we can, and we want you to continue to be in touch with us so we know how important it is for us to stay connected. One of the things I want to share is that as a school right now, we're still staying with our mission, which is to love, learn, and lead, but we kind of shifted our mission and vision a little bit for this time, and we're trading in accountability for empathy and flexibility, and really thinking about accountability and learning, and really compassion versus compliance, and then most important, love over everything else. And that's really how we're operating right now, and I'm proud of our staff for that.
That is so great, because I think that's what parents need to hear, that reassurance that, no one's about gotcha, right? No one's about, oh, you couldn't keep up. And to your point, it's beyond technology. It's parents working outside of the home and being essential and not being able to necessarily be there for the hour-to-hour instruction. So everybody's in this together.
Absolutely.
And you're there to support. And I've had some conversations with parents about this fear that, oh my goodness, my child might fail. I'm like, no, your teacher's there to help make sure that everybody just keeps on track. So
absolutely. And it really truly is about learning, probably now more than ever before. So any growth, any learning is important to us. So maybe if the packets aren't working, or if the It's Learning modules aren't working, whatever you and your family, what works for you, and for us to see that your student is progressing and they're growing, that's exciting for us, and we're thankful. So parents out there, I'm going to look right at the camera. Please know that you are enough, and no matter what you're doing great. And if you're loving and keeping yourself and your child safe, we're happy with that. We truly are. We want our kids to be safe and healthy, and their entire family, more than anything else. And secondary is the learning that's taking place. But don't underestimate the power of learning in very unique ways.
That's great. And thinking about very unique ways, I just want to end us with some creative ways that you've been engaging your families. It sounds like all day, every day, you're reaching out, but is there, as a school community, anything you're doing as a leader to kind of make sure that your families are engaged and feeling connected to your community?
I'd like to think so. We did a virtual Spirit Week, which was a lot of fun. We got lots of fun pictures from our families that are participating. We've been kind of upping the ante on our social media pages with the help of our PTSA. We have so many of our teachers that have added Instagram accounts. That's a big thing for middle schoolers. So
right.
they're on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And teams have been creating newsletters, funny videos. One of my still does her math joke of the day. She just does it virtually. Our counselors, our social workers, our school safety liaison, they're all part of our team. So they're doing creative ways to reach out to our families. We truly are. And I think, again, this is what maybe might not be unique to everybody else, but I think what sets us apart at Magnolia, we're really, really relying on those personal connections. And we didn't even start, virtual learning right out of the gate. We wanted to make sure that we touched base with every single one of our students and our families, so they actually knew what the process was going to be before we actively engaged in it. So it's, we're constantly making modifications. This week, as you know, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. I actually sent out a private email and phone call to my students and families. I left my staff off this one, but my students and families are actually on a secret mission to help me with Teacher Appreciation Week this week. So I don't want to spoil it. But we're also doing a school-wide scavenger hunt for our teachers. So they're winning some great prizes. So really, again, it's just making sure that we're putting love above everything else in everything we do. And I would say that's what makes us innovative, and that's what makes us great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here today for our Parent Academy.
My pleasure.
I appreciate your expertise, and like I said, these are challenging years, but to your point, they're wonderful years. So
they are. They truly are.
We can do this as parents, and we can do it with your support too. So thank you for everything.
Yes. And to all my students and families out there, Miss Namey misses you a ton. So I'm sending you love across the miles, but thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you. And thank you for being here today for the Parent Academy Virtual Real Talk on how to help our tweens and early teenagers, our middle schoolers during this COVID closure. We'll see you next time. Take care.